Perfect. So mostly it seems like people have stopped streaming in. I'm sure a couple more will trickle in the next few minutes, and that should be great. A couple of introductory items that we'll be getting out of the way. But thanks everyone for joining on here for the first Dido webinar of 2019, first of many actually, which we're very excited about. The topic today is to understand Google's recent G Suite pricing announcements. My name is Evan, for those who haven't met me. I'm our G Suite team lead for all of our customers and programs involving G Suite. So I'll be kind of running through the content today, as well as answering questions and addressing some of the FAQs that have been coming up during our conversations with customers and being posted online and things like that. Couple of notes about Dido and today's session. I did get a chance to kind of look through the registrants here, and we actually have a good mix of current Dido customers, as well as many organizations that are not yet working with us. So I will be very clear in certain places where the process might be a little bit different if you are already a Dido customer versus what you might be able to take advantage with us. Just as a quick refresher, Dido is an all Google consulting organization. We're a premier partner on the G Suite side of things, as well as Google Cloud Platform, Google Maps. We provide professional services around all of these things, and we're working with customers all over the United States and Canada to successfully deploy and implement these Google technologies. So there are a lot of familiar faces in the audience who know my voice, and I will be excited to check in with you after our session today. But to anyone who is not a current Dido customer that would like to connect with us, our website is didoweb.com. And I'll show a slide at the end that shows kind of exactly where you can go following up from today's call if you have any other questions that you want to take offline. You should now have access to chat and a question section. So I saw that one question already came through, which is, can we do a sound check, please? So what I'll go ahead and say there is, if one of the Dido attendees who are watching, if you could go ahead and chat me over if you're not able to hear, or well, if you are able to hear me, if you could go ahead and confirm that, that would be great. In the meantime, though, I'm going to proceed. Oh, looks like we are all good. Thanks, guys. And that also gives us confirmation that the questions are working as well. So jumping right in here, this is just a quick overview of today's agenda. We're not here to just read the blog post to you online. The goal of today is to provide a quick recap of the announcement of the pricing change that's coming to G Suite. I'll talk about the timing, what product SKUs are being affected, because not all of them are. We are working creatively with a lot of our customers on renewals and price lock-ins. So if your renewal date falls before April 2nd, there are some certain options we have prior to that time. If your renewal date falls after April 2nd, we want to start the conversation for what our options will be at that time. And I do want to include a little bit of education as part of the session, especially to those customers that are on G Suite Basic around the different G Suite editions. So toward the end, I'll do kind of just a very short recap of what the differences between the different G Suites are, why organizations choose to go with business, why organizations choose to go with enterprise, and then we'll take questions after that. And actually, we have some FAQs that we've pulled from the blog post and from some of the Cloud Connect community and other partners as well. So we'll take you through some of the most frequent questions at that time. Perfect. So jumping right in, I do want to just do a quick recap here. So for those that are not aware, prior to today's conversation, G Suite is undertaking its first ever pricing increase on April 2nd of this year. The G Suite platform was originally deployed, I think, in 2007. Around then is when customers started leveraging it. And it actually has not undergone a pricing change since it has been deployed. So this will be the first one. The value of G Suite during that time has increased tremendously. So originally we just had Gmail, Docs, Sheets, I think maybe Calendar and the admin console. And then over time, Google Drive was introduced, the administrator tools, security were improved. We saw the introduction of major features like Hangouts Meet and Hangouts Chat, the deployment of Team Drives and new Gmail last year. I know that the 2018 feature enhancements that we have on the right-hand side here are a little bit tricky to read at this resolution. That document is available online attached to the blog post, so you can definitely review those individual items there. But the kind of key message that we want to send here is that G Suite has undergone substantial feature increase year over year, and that's actually accelerated over time, especially with things like the new Gmail that our customers are giving insanely positive feedback about just in the last year. So ultimately, the message that we want to send here is that there is a pricing increase commensurate with the value increase of the G Suite platform as it has improved over time. This also is, the pricing increase is 20% on the basic and business versions, and the kind of relative position that Google holds in the marketplace is still pretty stable at that. So compared to a lot of the other offerings that are out there, especially if you piecemeal them, paying for email from one provider and storage from another and video conferencing from another, the pricing becomes inordinately higher than the G Suite platform does itself. So we do want to be having conversations with our customers about the pricing change, and we are able to take feedback back to our channel manager at Google, back to the engineering and teams at Google. Please communicate that with us, but we are fairly confident that the kind of the value that's being delivered by G Suite is commensurate with the pricing increase. So just starting out with kind of providing that quick overview of what those pricing increases look like. For those existing Dido customers that are on a flexible plan option, we've actually already reached out regarding this. So you should be aware of what the options you have today are. So today I'm going to be focusing a little bit more on those annual customers. The specific pricing changes that are occurring here, again, are 20%. Basics going from $5 to $6, business is going from 10 to 12. For those enterprise customers that deploy deskless licenses to their warehouse or retail workers, those users that don't necessarily work behind a desk, there is a pricing increase for those SKUs as well. So just be advised, those are derivative of the basic and business versions. So basic deskless is going to 50% of the new price. So it'll be $3 per user per month. Business deskless is going up to 50% of the business price, so it'll be going to $6. For anyone who is enterprise or on the EDU version of G Suite, these prices are not changing at this time. And the messaging that Google has provided there is that the enterprise offering is relatively new. It's just been around for about 2 years now. And while it has substantially increased its feature set in that time, the relative value of that addition is actually commensurate with the current pricing. So there are no near-term plans whatsoever to increase the cost of enterprise. Just as FYI, for those customers whose renewal date falls before the April 2nd timeframe, we are able to renew at your current rate. For those that fall after April 2nd, we very strongly recommend connecting with an account rep at Dido. If you're an existing customer, you should have their contact information. If you are not currently a customer of Dido, we strongly recommend just going to schedule a consult on our website, and we can kind of talk you through some of the options that are available there. As far as how those renewals and lock-ins are being provided, we are able to provide some options for annual or multi-year contracts before April 2nd. And just the kind of quick version of that message, just to reiterate, is that if your renewal falls before April 2nd, we will be able to continue operating on the current pricing. If you fall after April 2nd, engage with a team member from Dido or from Google to understand what the options are available there. Perfect. So that's kind of the quick version of the pricing overview. For anyone who is interested in, has considered, or is really just not aware of what the addition differences are in G Suite, I am going to spend a couple of minutes here going through the key kind of differentiations between G Suite Basic, G Suite Business, and G Suite Enterprise. Part of the reason I'm doing that is, and please connect with our the sales team to get details on this, but Google actually is offering a little bit of incentives for upgrades right now. So if you do have questions or concerns about different versions of G Suite, please engage with us there. But just the quick version here, the G Suite Business tool set introduces, kind of beyond the basic version, the ability to do a more enterprise class file sync and share that comes in the form of the Team Drives solution. So for those who are not familiar with Team Drives, it basically gives you the ability to set up organizational file shares using Google Drive so that individual user accounts don't own the data. IT owns the data. So you can actually have that data transcend the individual user as people are coming and going from your organization. And you can actually administrate the data that's in those Team Drives from an admin level instead of requiring direct access to that file from the user level. The cloud search is relatively new. It was introduced, I think, in late 2017, and is an excellent tool for productivity. Basically, it gives you a unified search across all of your G Suite data. By the way, I do want to, or part of the reason I'm doing a little bit of information about the G Suite versions is just to create time for people to ask questions. So please submit questions right now if anything is jumping to mind. But the cloud search gives you basically a dashboard where you can, I always recommend just setting it as your home page. It gives you contextual information about your upcoming meetings and documents that you're working on. And it allows you to, when you aren't sure exactly where a piece of information is, you can search Gmail, Drive, Calendar, and Chat all in one place. So it's a really powerful way to use Google as a search engine for your corporate data. On the IT security side, probably the biggest difference between basic and business is the Google Vault system, which does provide e-discovery and compliance. Basically, that Vault system archives all of the data that's stored in your users' Gmail, Drive, or Chat, and gives you as the administrators the ability to search through that information. So if you've ever wanted to have a good domain-wide email search, Vault is an excellent way to go about that. It is legally compliant, so if there's ever any type of contract dispute, investigation, he said, she said, if you ever need to submit anything to legal counsel for review, Google Vault is what gives you the ability to do that. And that is the same system that Google uses for their e-discovery needs. So it is truly an enterprise e-discovery and compliance option. Most organizations do need some type of archiving in place, and Google Vault in the business version is what gives you the ability to retain data even if a user deletes something. So honestly, even though all of those legal use cases are really important for businesses, the most common use case for Vault is actually when someone accidentally deletes something. Or when an employee is leaving the organization and tries to maliciously delete something, Google Vault is really what protects the organization in those types of cases. The device management offering in G Suite Business is just an expansion of what's already available in the G Suite Basic version. So for those who are not aware or not currently leveraging device management in G Suite, doing things like requiring a passcode to use a mobile device or needing or getting the ability to do a corporate data wipe are actually included in G Suite without deleting any of the end user's data from their mobile device. And the G Suite Business version expands that ability. We actually do have some items on the roadmap coming for primary device management as well. So being able to do management of Windows and Mac OS devices. So if you are interested in leveraging device management, definitely reach out to our sales team to connect you with an engineering resource to kind of discuss those options. And then one of the cooler parts of the G Suite Business version that we've been seeing really great adoption, especially in the second half of 2018, is when this has really taken off, is the rapid app development platform called App Maker. That's actually included in G Suite Business. That App Maker gives you a low-code way to develop integrations and applications in G Suite that just make it really easy to improve workflows. So strongly recommend checking out App Maker if you have not already. App Maker is, there are templates available online, so you can actually deploy applications that are extensibility or even unique functionality beyond what's already available in G Suite. I am seeing some questions starting to pop up here. So I'm going to go ahead and start looking through those. Okay, perfect. Okay. All right, so we do have a couple of questions. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the version differences with a quick overview of the enterprise version. Enterprise really does two things. It does improve your end user functionality in Hangouts. It gives you the ability to record Hangouts as well as broadcast them to up to 100,000 participants. So if you ever have like an all hands meeting or something like that, where you want attendees to be able to view and not actually participate, the G Suite Enterprise version is designed to support those kinds of situations. And then on the security side, the data loss prevention tools help you to protect confidential information. So if you have compliance requirements around healthcare, protected health information, PCI, criminal justice, finance, things like that, the DLP, the data loss prevention, gives you the ability to filter what can actually be shared outside of your organization to prevent things from like social security numbers, credit card numbers, things like that from being shared out. The advanced controls that are available in the G Suite Enterprise are something that we really recommend connecting with a team member to get a demo of. Basically, those advanced controls actually give you the ability to reach into your user accounts and make changes there. So just as FYI, the ability to do much more advanced controls with G Suite in terms of security, specifically around certain types of malicious attacks that Google's actually excellent at detecting, things like spoofing, advanced malware, zero-day threats, things that cost an arm and a leg from other providers are actually addressed by the G Suite Enterprise version. So today I'm just doing the quick version, but if you do have any questions around that, let us know and we can set up a demo. The customization and extensibility of the G Suite Enterprise version allows you to really tightly key into Google's BigQuery for virtually all of the audit reports, logs, and Google Sheets when you're using the enterprise version. So for anyone out there who's interested in doing some big data analytics or just more SQL type queries across all of their different administrative logs or even just a Google Sheet, the enterprise version actually does give you the ability to do that. So there are some very powerful tools there. Again, this is the quick version, but if you do have questions, we would be very happy to set up a demo there. Cool. So I'm going to go ahead and start jumping ahead through questions. Just to start out, the kind of FAQs that we're seeing the most are around how do my how does my existing contract get affected by this? This is if you're on some sort of enterprise agreement. The additional users that you add are always going to get the same price that you have during that term. So the price increase, if you are on some type of enterprise agreements, will not go into play until the renewal date of your agreement. One of the questions that we are getting right now regarding the those contracts that fall after the April 2nd date is, can I renew earlier than that? The message that we can send you regarding early renewal is that there is criteria and eligibility requirements for early renewal. It is something that Google is open to having a conversation about, so we can take a look at your current environment and do a little bit of future planning for the next couple of years. But there are actually some options for early renewal, so definitely engage with us over that if it's something that you're interested in doing. And then if you are looking at potentially upgrading from the G Suite basic version, I mentioned earlier that Google does have some incentives for that. Those do require an enterprise agreement for a negotiated price. So definitely work with our sales team and with the Google team directly to understand a little bit more about what those offerings are. But just be advised that we are able to offer some incentives there. So upgrading right now is a little bit more appealing than upgrading at a later date, just to lock in the current pricing. Perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and leave these FAQs up while I start jumping into some of the questions. One of the questions from Tanya, thank you, Tanya, is will unlimited storage also go up? I do think that might have been in jest, and I love it. Thank you, Tanya. But ultimately, there are no direct feature changes that are going on alongside the pricing increase. This is the industry standard for software as a service, which G Suite is kind of falls under, is to provide continuous iteration, update, improvement, and features. So again, we can reference back to that earlier slide where we saw a couple hundred line items of updates that came from 2018, and that's going to continue to be the case. There is a roadmap available publicly for G Suite. As a premier partner, Dido also has access to the NDA roadmap for G Suite. And if you are willing to sign an NDA, if you are an existing G Suite customer and Dido customer, we can actually share some of the items in the NDA roadmap with you to assist with feature planning and go into a little bit more depth and detail than is available through the online roadmap. So definitely let us know if that's something that you're interested in seeing, not just the features that have already rolled out, but some of the future features as well. I saw that we had quickly addressed this over chat, but one of the questions was, my licenses say G Suite Business. Is that the enterprise or business license? So when you go into the admin console and click on billing, it will state the exact version that you're using. So when we think about G Suite, that's different than a consumer Gmail account. So that the term G Suite means that you have the business or you have the professional version of the Gmail platform managed by your domain. And then when it says G Suite Business, it is specifically referring to the business version, not just saying that you are using a professional version. Thanks for sending that one over, Drew. Gary, thanks for sending this one over. For those of us with multi-year enterprise agreements, will our costs for deskless licenses go up in April, or are we locked in through the end of the contract term? Gary, I will get with you offline to clarify and actually help you take a look at this, but ultimately you're locked in. so your pricing will not go up until renewal. Additionally, if you do have an enterprise negotiated agreement in place, Google is not flipping the script on you at renewal. We are able to re-engage with a new enterprise negotiated agreement. So the same kind of rules apply. Just be advised that over time, there will be pricing increases there ultimately and eventually at some point down the road. We do expect to have customers move up toward that list price, but that is something that we'll check in with and make sure to address in your specific case, since each enterprise negotiated agreement is a little bit different. So thank you, Gary, for sending that one over. I appreciate that. Suha has asked us, for our business purposes, the main thing we need from our G Suite is the email. We have basic. Can you please touch on security and encryption? That's an excellent question. I'm actually going to go ahead and jump back a couple of slides to show the G Suite overview of kind of what all is included in the G Suite platform. Specifically with reference to the basic version, I do want to point to a couple of the applications that exist here that are not on the basic version. Under the Create section, App Maker is the A at the bottom. That one's not included on basic. On the Access section, the magnifying glass is Cloud Search, also only available on the business and enterprise versions. And finally, under Control, the far left item, the Google Cloud Identity, which is Google's identity as a service, which does provide things like single sign-on, automated provisioning to other applications, things like that. That one is only on the enterprise version. So as I brought up this overview slide of G Suite, for the basic version, we're pointing out all of the different applications other than just that, other than the ones that are on the other versions. So in terms of security and encryption, that is a very good question. Basically, we can do a longer form conversation about this if it's useful to you, but Google does provide the same level of encryption, both at rest and in transit, in all of the different G Suite versions. So when we talk about the increased security on the business and enterprise versions, what we're specifically referring to there are increased administrator tools, settings, and controls. We're not actually increasing the encryption level because Google does provide the maximum possible level of encryption at all of their different versions by default. Usually, and for those who are a little bit more technical, usually that means either 128 or 256-bit encryption. I think that now applies to all of the different applications there. Some of the legacy applications, like I think the classic Hangouts experience, might be a little bit different. And that one is being deprecated later this year as the Hangouts chat and Meet have taken its place. So I do want to also address when the question of encryption comes up, it's a very general question and it kind of means a lot of different things. So going into a touch more detail there, sometimes when people ask about email encryption, one of the questions that they want to learn about are, how can I ensure that an email is encrypted when I send that outside of my domain? So anything that's sent to you is automatically encrypted, both in transit and at rest. Whether the information resides in one of Google's data centers, it's en route to your mailbox, or it's stored in your G Suite or on your computer, those locations are always encrypted. The one thing that you can't necessarily fully control is the ability to ensure that your message stays encrypted when you send to another organization or when you send externally. So the key there to be aware of, and this is the industry standard that Google set, when you try to send an email with Gmail, Google tries to send it as an encrypted email first. Now, if your admin team has not done any additional configurations, after Google tries to send as an encrypted email, And let's say hypothetically you're sending to a customer that manages their own email domain, their own Exchange server, or whatever it might be, and they don't have encryption supported on that server, then Google is going to default to an unencrypted send of that message to ensure delivery to the recipient. For most businesses, that's okay. That's preferable. The priority is to make sure that the message gets delivered. But for organizations that have additional security concerns, most commonly we see this in healthcare, finance, law enforcement, compliant industries. Often you do need an additional encryption system to ensure that people receive your message in an encrypted fashion, and you can actually disable that default to unencrypted send. So I'm sorry for going into a long-winded, kind of long explanation for how Google handles encryption. Hopefully that's useful to you. The the solution, and I do see you, Suha. Thank you for following up there. I'm glad this is helping. Historically, the recommendation has been to work with a Google encryption partner if you need to ensure that a message gets sent in an encrypted way. Those partners, a long time ago, it was Zix. They've actually been or discontinued their partnership with Google, but I think in my experience, that's the most commonly recognized one. Today, the Google encryption partner is an organization called Virtru. They are also a Dido partner, so if you do reach out to us, we can help coordinate with their team and ensure that we get the best pricing and negotiation done for helping to deploy that if you need to have email encryption guaranteed when you send. I do also want to add one note there that Google is rolling out confidential mode in G Suite later this year. Confidential mode is already available on the consumer Gmail side. That's kind of been the testing environment for that. After Google started dogfooding themselves, they rolled it out to their consumers before rolling it out to businesses. And confidential mode does address many of the security requirements that are often needed for encryption. So what I would say there is connect with our sales team, hop on a call with me, and I can take you through what your current requirements are depending on your industry vertical and the business practices that you need to engage in. And we can make a recommendation there for what would be the best solution, whether it's purchase another third-party provider to guarantee encryption or leverage the confidential mode once it rolls out later this year. Okay, next question from, oh, and thank you again, Suha. I do really appreciate the question here. From Kenneth, there's a question, G Suite Business provides encryption at rest. Yes, we did already mention, but by default, no additional configuration needed. G Suite does include encryption in rest or at rest and in transit. There is a security white paper available as well that kind of starts off and breaks down Google's security practices in layman's terms. And then as you read further and further into the document, it goes into greater and greater detail for some of Google's security practices. If you have additional concerns there, you can connect with the sales team and get access to things like the SOC 2 report, HIPAA, BAA amendments, GDPR processing amendments, things like that. But yes, absolutely. Thanks for sending that one over, Kenneth. Okay, another question from Suha. So does the free version of Gmail provide the same encryption at rest and in transit as the G Suite Basic? So this is a good question because there are some key security differentiations between a consumer Gmail account and a business G Suite account. Or a professional business account, I should say, for clarity, since G Suite Business is a version. So G Suite Basic, again, has the same level of encryption as Business and Enterprise. So G Suite all has the same level of encryption. I believe, and I'm not 100% I would want to circle back on this, but the consumer Gmail also does use encryption by default. And then if you try to send with an unencrypted recipient, I think it switches to an unencrypted version, same as the default configuration in G Suite. The things to be aware of there are that on a consumer Gmail account, the owner of all of the data on that account is the end user that has the username and password to that account. Whereas on G Suite, all of the data belongs to the organization rather than the individual end user. So as a G Suite customer, even on G Suite Basic, you have full rights to suspend an account, lock out a user, reset the password, and then access that account. So if you need to go get into someone's data, even on G Suite Basic, you can. The administrative tools to do that are better on Business and Enterprise, but even on the basic version, all of the data is owned by the company, not the end user. The other key difference between the consumer Gmail, the free version, versus the G Suite Basic, or actually all of the G Suite versions, has to do with the terms and conditions of service. With the consumer version of Gmail as a free service, you are opting into being able to provide certain types of anonymous data scanning to Google to improve their products and for some advertising targeting. So on consumer Gmail, Google can scan your data. On G Suite, Google cannot scan your data. These are actually, by the way, set up in different hardware. The data centers that use free Gmail are actually different than the ones that use G Suite. And actually, for anyone who's leveraging the Google Cloud platform, those are also separate from those other systems, so that Google does not have a conflict of interest when allocating bandwidth to any of their individual devices. So just as FYI, there are some very crucial differences between the free version and the G Suite platform, the professional platform. For virtually any business, even if you are not incorporated and you're a one user, or I'm sorry, a sole proprietor of a business, we strongly recommend the G Suite version for legal reasons. Hopefully that helps to answer. So far we've gone through all of the questions that have been prompted. Please feel free to incorporate a couple more if anyone has anything that hasn't been answered so far. As a quick reminder, if you're a current G Suite customer and you work with us only on the G Suite side, but you're doing anything in application development, data analytics is actually a specialty of ours, but we have cloud architects that work on machine learning, cloud infrastructure, even just setting up virtual machines, and you have any interest in using Google Cloud Platform or Google Maps, reach out to us, let us know, and we can talk about kind of what we provide to our customers in terms of consulting and expertise. And then on the kind of next step side of things, if you're not an existing customer of ours, and you are interested in getting some free consultation and an additional layer of support that can become a little bit more acutely familiar with your business and provide a higher level of support and expertise than the G Suite or the Google support team, go ahead and schedule a consult with us. We're happy to provide additional information and deep dive explorations into features, demos, talking you through all of these different things. Today, we've done the quick version of a lot of different content, and we can absolutely go into detail on things like Team Drives and Vault and the Enterprise Security Center. If those things are useful. Existing customers, you are welcome to fill in a consult form if you want to take a meeting, but also you should be able to reach out to your account rep to get something scheduled there. Other than that, I do want to thank everyone for joining on today. It doesn't look like we're seeing any additional questions cropping up here, so I think we'll probably go ahead and end things a little bit early here. How do I get in touch with you? Great question. If you go to the URL that's on this page, ditoweb.com/consult, we can go ahead and schedule a meeting with one of our sales development reps to help get you to the right engineering resource and get you the information that you need. Okay, perfect. All right. Yeah, not seeing any new questions popping up. I'm going to go ahead and check chat just to double check. And it looks like people have been pretty good about using the question section, so there's nothing in chat. Okay. All right, awesome. Well, thanks everyone so much for joining on today. We will be, again, just to reiterate, we will be turning this presentation into a PDF and attaching it to the invite, as well as the recording. So you are definitely welcome to review this content later on and share it internally. And everyone have a fantastic rest of your day.